time for the Ron and Brian podcast. Get ready to fill your ears with the latest news, politics, current events, and whatever else we feel like talking about this week. And now, your hosts, Ron and Brian.
And good evening, everybody. It is Sunday night. It's 8 o'clock, and it is time for what do we got here? Episode 234 of the Ron and Brian podcast. Brian, how are you this evening, my friend?
I am doing great. It is Sunday. It is episode 234. I would like to start off right now with an apology that I would like to issue to you, Ron.
Really?
As well as also all of our listeners and viewers. After last week's episode, I woke up the following morning and I wasn't feeling so great.
Really?
I felt better. And a couple people, friends of the show, reached out to me and said, "Hey, how are you doing today? You seem to be kind of in rough shape yesterday." I went back and I watched the podcast. I watched all of it. And I was not proud of my behavior. I was not proud of some of the things I had said. I was not proud of the way I had behaved. I feel I owe you an apology for not being 100% clear in mind, body, and spirit.
Right.
To the people who are Patreons who watched our After Dark show, I feel I owe you everything short of a full refund, because you won't be getting that. But you do get a heartfelt apology. So this week I will. I'm on my best behavior. I will be drinking. Ron, are you thirsty?
I'm having some coffee. It's a little chilly night here in the Northeast, so
that seems to be a new mug I see you with.
Is it?
I don't know. I don't recognize it. It's not a mug you normally seem to use.
Well, I did. You got me thinking, Brian, and I love it when you stir the creative juices within me. Your lapel pin was just, I really thought it was thought out well. So I took a picture of yourself that you had sent to me that I turned into a meme between the group of us, and turned it into a coffee mug. I also splurged. I got it on both sides, so whether you're left-handed or right-handed, you're gonna see Brian's beautiful mug on this mug. So we're gonna do some test audiences, see how they like it. I think we can really do a whole Brian glassware set. I'm thinking about ordering some special Pilsner glasses, things of that nature, with your photo on it. So keep an eye out at ronandbrianpodcast.com. If we do roll those out, they'll be on the web store.
Sure. And can we see a little? Can we see it up close?
I mean, if you want it up close, this is me kind of trashed.
What does it actually say there?
It says, "Ron's so much better at Wordle than me because you tend to cry a lot when I beat you at Wordle on an ongoing basis."
You beat me regularly.
Today was a tie, so kudos to you, my friend.
It's very rare that we tie. It's incredibly rare.
I mean, I'll teach you my my tricks of the trade someday if you'd like.
I do not want to know. Well, obviously, the tricks of your trade is that you open up a browser on your phone in Safari where you've logged in as, a test account. You play Wordle. You probably go through a couple losing accounts until you get the word right. Then you take it back to your phone where you play it, where knowing what the word is, you work backwards so that somehow miraculously you come in at 3 out of 6. Which is bullshit, if you ask me.
And this is why that face comes up so often. Brian, it's my little tip to you. It's more about the letters that aren't in the word than are in the word.
The fuck does that mean? There's 26 letters of the alphabet. 5 of them are in the word.
Correct.
Sometimes 4, if it's, they duplicate. Like today's word was happy. 2 P's.
Right.
And somehow you miraculously always seem to get this word correct.
Listen, I'm on a streak again. I got to beat my all-time streak. Anyway,
listen,
we're getting off topic.
This is not Ron and Brian Wordle podcast of the week, but people, we're still about Wordle because Ron cannot lose. But nice mug. Nice mug very much, people.
All right.
Also, I would like to announce that the Ron pins have already sold out. We are going back for a second printing.
I mean, they're going off the shelves. They are a hot item, so I appreciate everyone loving this face as much as they do and wanting to wear it on their lapel. So appreciate it. All right, should we get into things, Brian?
Yeah.
All right, let's get it rolling. It's time for Drink of the Week.
Drink of the week.
Na zdrowie!
Salud.
Drink of the week.
Sláinte!
Prost.
Drink of the week. Drink of the week. Drink of the
Now,
week.
I was a little hesitant to do the segment this week after your behavior last week, but you have assured us that there will not be a repeat, so I will ask you with extreme caution, Brian, what are you drinking this week?
Water.
Yep.
Absolutely water. Just kidding, people. I am drinking from our good friends over at Japas. Hold on, I'm going to butcher this name. Japas Cervejaria. I'm drinking Sawa Peach. With the typical acidity of the style, light and refreshing, Sawa is the translation of sour in Japanese. In this version of Sawa, Japas Cervejaria chose to add an additional generous amount of peach. Grown in Brazil and Japan, the fruit has a striking light acidity, sweetness, and unmistakable flavor, being a perfect addition to the recipe. Ron, this right here, look at this beauty.
I mean, it's a nice, clear, like it's exactly how you would want it to look.
Ron, this is the color of my pee when I wake up in the morning at about 3 a.m. This is a sour ale with peach. Ron, I'm about to take a sip. Wish me luck.
I mean, it's kind of a light beer for the winter, but I liked where you're going with this.
You know me. I don't hit stouts until at least April.
Okay. How is it?
Very refreshing. It almost tastes like an alcoholic soda. There's very much there's very heavy peach flavor in there. So there's a sweetness to it. And it's not bitter at all. You know me, I love a sour.
Yes.
Any kind of sour, I'm all over, regardless of the time of year.
Right.
So, by the way, Janelle, that's wrong. That's not right. It's not that I don't love you. I do love you. It's Patreon that doesn't love you because Janelle did not get the After Dark, and this is a pajama party, people. So we'll talk about it in the second half of the show as to why people should join our Patreon. Ron.
Yes.
What are you drinking?
So Brian, as the Santa cap on our banner above tells you, we are now deep into the holiday season now that Thanksgiving is in our rearview mirror. So we are drinking local, we are drinking holiday beers, and so today we're going with Pennsylvania's own Victory Brewing, their Merry Monkey beer from their Monkey series of brews. This is a Belgian-style ale with cranberry, orange peel, cinnamon, and nutmeg. Brian, this is clocking in at a solid 10%. I'm going to be like you by the time After Dark rolls around. Look at that
fine.
hue. Oh, it just looks like Christmas, doesn't it, Brian?
Yes. How good? How good is that? Ron, I want...
So tasty. I mean, you really, this is one of their better beers. You get the cranberry, you get the cinnamon, is definitely everything you want to have in a festive holiday beer. So kudos to Victory. Merry Monkey beer.
Walk me through the different, what are the flavors you're getting?
I mean, again, I'm getting the cranberry. I'm getting the cinnamon. I'm now getting a little bit of the orange peel in the back end of things. It's just a delicious beer. And it's 10%. So that means you'll get Sloppy Ron at the After Dark.
Now, how good is Sloppy Ron? We love Sloppy Ron.
We all do. If there's something, if it's my gift to everybody this holiday season, it'll be Sloppy Ron.
Ooh, now I can't think of a better gift.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
No?
I don't know.
Hello?
Who knows? Hello? Can you hear
Are
me?
you there, Ron?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, for a second there, you just tapped out. I mean,
All right.
the one thing about this podcast, people, is I want you to know it's live. A lot of podcasts would have edited that. A lot of podcasts would record in advance and then cut out, some of the awkward silences. or when the 49% co-host starts slurring his words and somehow goes off onto a tangent of sucking toes. I was not proud of that conversation, Ron.
Nor should you have been.
No. I was embarrassed, especially when we got to After Dark, where we started talking about the time that I was in college and was penetrated rectally by a homeless man's toe. These are things I should never have talked about.
Put a pin in that and move on to Beef of the Week.
Ron and Brian's Beef of the Week.
Brian, what's bothering you today?
What's bothering me today is something that, I wouldn't say that it's bothering me today so much as something that really was bothering me on Thursday.
Okay.
And Wednesday also. And what it really was the number of people, and then it seems to be growing every year, who feel the need to go onto social media to brag about how they're not celebrating Thanksgiving this year, how they are not going to celebrate Christopher Columbus stealing this land from the Native Americans, how this has absolutely nothing to do with family or whatnot. People who feel the need to post on social media photos of what they're eating, McDonald's, their anti-Thanksgiving dinner, talking about how, turkeys, shouldn't be raised to be slaughtered so we can celebrate in front, eating a burnt carcass. Just the people who seem to be really, what's what I'm thinking of, embracing this holier than thou attitude that, as if you're not cool if you're celebrating with your family, that, this isn't a day that you should be able to appreciate and love because, this, it doesn't meet other people's moral standards for reasons for us to, have warm wishes for the day. And it just pissed me off that my feed was filled with so many of those types of people.
I understand. And I agree with you. It seems like you should be spending time with the family, not determining what you can post for clout.
And my thing is this: if you want to not spend time with your family, because people have different familial dynamics,
right?
Some people hate their family. Some people grew up with toxic families, and spending a day with their family and extended family is just emotionally upsetting to them. That's fine, but don't shit on me because I spent Thanksgiving with people that I hold near and dear to my heart. Like that. Like don't make it about how my Thanksgiving is shit because you don't agree with what it represents to me.
You want to be a source of good in the world, is what you're saying.
Listen, it's there's so much bad in this world. To sit there for one day with loved ones and just be happy. I don't see anything wrong with that.
All right, I would agree with you on that.
Ron?
Yes.
What are you drinking?
I think we're on to Beef of the Week, my friend.
We're on the Beef of the Week, Ron. What's bothering you?
My beef today is with FedEx. I know I've complained about FedEx before.
Not again. This is like the Five Timers Club on Saturday Night Live. Like FedEx has just put on their 3-time velvet jacket.
So it's a rainy day out in the Northeast today, Brian. And normally, again, I'm used to FedEx just leaving packages out on the sidewalk, not putting them in the covered vestibule we have out front.
Sure.
So this time I saw my Ring camera picked up on the FedEx guy coming up the walk. I said, all right, I'm going to grab this because I know he's not putting it inside. So literally caught it right as he put it down on the step. Picked it up, brought it inside. Even though he only carried it from the truck to the front door, still sopping wet. Like I feel like my box rode on top of the truck to my house. It was absolutely insane.
So strange.
It's almost like people don't care anymore. Brian, people don't want to work. That's what's going on.
Well, I think it's so difficult. and you just got to be happy with what you get.
I guess so. I mean, again, it's a minor beef. It's a first world problem, but it's my beef this week.
Well, it's a legitimate. May I ask what was in the box?
It was shampoo and conditioner.
What shampoo and conditioner do you use, or was this for the for Mrs. Ron?
This is for me. I use a dry scalp shampoo and conditioner.
You're not going to name the brand?
It's Nazordol.
Whoa, that is that?
I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but
is that pharmaceutical shampoo? Because that's
it's over the counter. It's the next step below prescription shampoo and
because
conditioner.
I was at Dwayne Reed earlier, which is
Were you?
brought to you by Walgreens. I was looking at shampoo when I picked up Pert Plus because I'm a strong believer that I should be able to combine shampoo and conditioner and just really put it on once. I mean, I did not see any Nardwall brand shampoo and conditioner, so I'm trying to understand where are you obtaining this type of stuff from?
That I get on Amazon.
Now, isn't your beef really your flaky scalp?
I mean, it's a constant, ongoing beef. My dry skin.
Well, it is Reagan's fault. I
It
mean,
is.
you had luscious, soft, moist skin prior to 1980.
True.
We all remember.
And I don't want to fly by Allie's comment here when you mentioned that you somehow went off on a tangent. She said Brian somehow stays on topic would be amazing. Hurtful and yet poignant at the same time.
Hold on. My name's not there. Somehow stays on topic would be amazing. Maybe she's talking about you, Ron.
Maybe.
Or the show in general. Why do you feel that that's somehow supposedly on me?
I don't know. It's just a feeling deep down in my gut.
Okay. That hurts.
I'm sorry.
That hurts a lot, Ron. While we're talking about it, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
How was your Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was good. We had a chance to see my in-laws. We had a chance to see my wife's extended family. Have a meal with them. Watch some football. And it was good. I enjoyed it. Had a nice meal. Came home, relaxed, watched a little TV, and then got an early night snooze. How was your Thanksgiving?
Lovely. We'll get to mine in a moment.
Okay.
Only because you know me. I love getting into the details of the story.
Sure.
Walk me through your Thanksgiving plate.
My Thanksgiving plate.
Now, I'm imagining you bring your own plate. I imagine you have a Thanksgiving themed plate that you purchased probably 18 years ago. You use it every year on Thanksgiving. It has separate compartments on the plate.
You are incorrect in that. I used whatever plate was at my place setting.
Okay.
Everybody brings some dishes to the family meal, but I had turkey, gravy, mashed potatoes, regular stuffing, cornbread stuffing, a roll, some homemade cranberry sauce. I think that's about it.
What was the dish that you and the wife brought?
So I made an appetizer. I made cranberry brie puffs.
Cranberry brie puff. So what is that? Inside like a little
So it's a little puff pastry cup with a little brie and a little cranberry and a little pistachio on top.
Ooh.
Very tasty. I'm very pleased with the way it came out.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
This year, thank you for asking, Ron.
I did.
Brian made a turkey.
A full turkey or a turkey breast?
Ron, if I made a turkey breast, I would be telling you how I made a turkey breast.
All right, my
No,
friend.
this year, all the stories, all over, the media, mainstream media, they lie to you about how Thanksgiving dinner was going to be so much more expensive this year than in previous years. Brian decided that instead of buying a butterball, instead of buying, Nature's Harvest turkey, no. You know what Brian did? Brian went to the mothership of all inflationary priced items. Brian went to Whole Foods and bought himself a fresh young turkey. Not trying to turn you on, Ron. Take it down a notch.
Okay.
Talking about my turkey.
Right.
It was I bought it wasn't frozen. It was cold. Not frozen.
Okay.
Bought a turkey. Basically took some olive oil, put some rosemary, some thyme, some sage, a little garlic powder, some onion powder. Made a nice little what's the word I'm thinking of? I made a roux out of
Ooh,
it.
fancy.
No. Then what I did was stuffed it into the breast underneath the skin. And I'm going to tell you something. That shit's my specialty. Getting the fingers between the skin, sliding over the breast. I mean, at one point, I looked over at the lady as I was preparing this turkey, and I said to her, "You know, this could be you, but you playing, woman." And she looked at me with utter disgust and left the room.
You should be
So
used to that by now.
Oh, she does it at least 14 times a day. So put that little mixture over the breast meat. I then on the outside applied a generous layer, cooked that in a one of those little tin disposable pans.
Good call.
With onion, celery, carrots,
The Trinity.
a little bit of water just to start it off, and then basted this motherfucker for about 3 hours. And I'm not going to brag, but I'm going to tell you something, Ron. I ate that dinner so good. Then I had a reheated Thanksgiving dinner on Friday.
Oh, those are the best.
And then I had another plate of it Saturday. That was
Nice.
just, there was so many left over. It was delicious.
Kudos to you, sir.
So I made my turkey.
Okay.
Whole Foods provided most of the sides, not all. We did cook some of the sides. I did leave out that my sister and her eldest came down. So it was the four
Nice.
of us for Thanksgiving. Just a lovely day.
Family affair.
Absolutely. Kept it small, but at the same time, kept to the people that mean the most to me. So what did we have? We had mashed potatoes. We had stuffing. We had creamed spinach, which was delicious. Just put a little salt on it.
Sure.
Whole Foods does not believe in salt, apparently.
They don't. They're not a seasoning kind of place.
Cranberry sauce. Well, it's very white, and we know white people do not believe in seasoning. And I'm leaving out a bunch of stuff. The lady made homemade bread, which was absolutely delicious.
Love homemade bread.
Then I grilled up some asparagus with some olive oil and some garlic.
So you came to play. You brought you brought the A game, not the B game, not the C game.
Thanksgiving is the one time of the year where I am perfectly fine spending the day in the kitchen, either dirtying dishes while making food or washing them. I think I ran my dishwasher 3 times on Thanksgiving.
Well, I would have brought my own plate with the compartments for dinner without a doubt.
You know what? One year, maybe next year, I don't know. Maybe we do a Ron and Brian Thanksgiving.
That touches my heart, warms the cockles of my heart.
Thank you. Moving on, Ron. I feel like we
we don't want to forget our NFL locks of the week, Brian.
Oh, why would we? How could we forget them? I mean,
exactly.
Like we are. People literally say that they follow this show just so that they have an understanding of who to bet for.
There you go. So let's not. Matt will get upset if we don't play the bumper. So
sure.
Locks.
All right, Brian, I got to tell you, there was a period of time here today that I thought we were going to see something that we have not seen since the beginning of that podcast.
Sure.
And that was you missing one of your locks of the week. You took Las Vegas plus 3.5 against the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle was holding a 7-point lead late in the game. I called you. You said, "Are you nervous?" You said, "Ron, I'm not a bitch, so I'm not nervous." And sure enough, a couple minutes left. Las Vegas ties the game with a touchdown and then wins the game outright in overtime, 40-34. And then you picked one of the Thanksgiving games also. You took Vikings -3 against the Patriots. Minnesota covers easily, 33-26. You stay perfect on the year, a solid 24-0. My apologies for ever doubting you, and kudos on another fantastic week of picks.
Listen, it was, I think that when I made my pick of the Raiders of the Seahawks last week, I remember you specifically calling me out, asking me if I was sure, offering me the opportunity to change sides, offering me the ability to rethink. And I didn't budge. I didn't waver. I knew exactly what I was doing. So I was really proud of myself for holding my ground and going 2-0. But I'm going to tell you something. If there's, this should be in the Guinness Book of World's Records, the string
No.
that I am on, except for one thing, and that
What's
is the
that?
fact that I'm only doing this just to keep up with you. You yourself, Ron, another 2-0 week. You are now 24-0, 12 straight weeks, undefeated in your locks of the week. This past week, you saw that the Lions were getting 10 against Buffalo. You said, listen, Buffalo may win, but they are not going to win by 10. Buffalo wins by only 3. So you took that game on Thanksgiving. Then you saw the Dolphins laying 12 over the Texans. You said this is not going to be that close. Dolphins win by 15, 30-15. Ron, you are 24-0. How does it feel?
I mean, it feels good to just be able to keep pace with what you're bringing to the table. So,
listen, this is cutthroat. Eventually, one of us is going to have to lose. When one of us does lose, it's going to be crazy.
yeah, people will be shocked. Yeah, listen, it's a lot of pressure, so it's a bittersweet end when that does come. But Brian, who do you like next weekend, Week 13 of the NFL season?
Next week, Bills -5.5 at the Patriots. We saw what the Bills were capable of. I feel like they didn't bring their A game against Detroit. They will this week. Belichick is literally coaching a team that's being held together by Band-Aids. Bills easily roll over New England. Also, the New Jersey Jets, they are not New York, they are New Jersey, looked good this week, but they will absolutely crumble against the Minnesota Vikings. Vikings -3.5. I say you lay those points. Bills -5.5. Lay them also.
All right. I like a couple of road teams next weekend. Kansas City is at Cincinnati. Kansas City -3. Love the line. And then in Houston, Cleveland Browns roll in. Deshaun Watson, done with his suspension, eligible for play, means two things. Defenses should be scared, and masseuses in the Houston area should be scared. Cleveland -6.5. Take the Browns minus the points. Those are our locks of the week. All right.
Clapping.
I don't know. Speaking of sports, Brian, World Cup has been going on. Have you been following the rest of the world's version of football over the past week?
Ron, I'm going to say that I have had a $25 bet on every game so far of this World Cup. It will increase to the point of $100, maybe $200 on the final game. I am watching as many hours of this World Cup as I possibly can. The only thing that is holding me back from almost putting in 8 to 12 hours of football every day is the fact that the time difference between Qatar, I will not call it Qatar. I will not. No, this is America. And in America, we pronounce things the way Americans do. So it's Qatar. Is the fact that the time difference between here and there is so drastic that the first games start at 5 a.m. New York time. You know, I'm broadcasting here from New York. So that by 5 a.m. Is the first game, 8 o'clock the second, 11 a.m. is the third game, and the last game is at 2 p.m. That, there's only so many, mornings I'm willing to wake up at 5 a.m. to watch Costa Rica take on Morocco.
All right. Tuesday apparently is the big game.
Hold on.
Yes.
No. Tuesday was not the big game.
No, I'm kind of saying this upcoming Tuesday.
Friday was the big game when America, the United States of America, took on our longtime foe, what once was our father, what once was our mother, but now has been relegated to our drunk cousin who shows up to the table, drinks too much, and throws up in their lap. America, USA, took on England in what was considered a 4-1 underdog. USA, not given a chance by any soccer aficionados in the world.
None.
USA won the game 0-0 in a tie that basically said to the world, England, not so good. America, very good.
And then America plays Iran on
Ooh.
Tuesday, with the winner advancing to the round of 16. I assume you will be glued to the screen for that one.
Of course. You know who else will be glued are all the protesters in Tehran who are being literally tortured right now by the mullahs police force for protesting against basically any type of human right that Iran does not have. And speaking of Iran, so far away.
Bad joke.
God damn it! I thought that was gonna hit.
Lots of protests. I've heard China protesting scenes of unmasked fans in the stands. So now
Sure.
Chinese TV networks are only showing cuts off the field to the sideline and to the broadcast booth. Also, obviously, a lot of people.
Hold on. So China is not showing the fans because they don't want to show people without wearing masks.
So apparently there was so many complaints from the Chinese viewing public of seeing shots in the fans not being masked, packed into these stadiums. You know,
'Cause they're
obviously
still
China,
going, yeah.
they're still on a zero COVID thing.
Yeah.
So the Chinese sports networks are not cutting away to crowd shots when they don't show a play on the field. They're
Wow.
only cutting away to the sidelines, to the outside of the stadium, or to the broadcast booth.
That's amazing. I had no idea. I never saw that.
Also, a lot of controversy, people attempting to wear pride t-shirts, pride flag paraphernalia into the stadium, and being turned away because not a ton of human rights in, how do you pronounce it, Brian?
Some
Qatar.
people call it Qatar. In all honesty, I believe the name is Qatar, though I think most Americans do call it Qatar. They put the emphasis on the second syllable, though I believe the proper pronunciation has it on the first.
All right. Well, back in this country, Brian, it wouldn't be a week if we didn't have another mass shooting. This one taking place in a Virginia Walmart on Tuesday. A gunman who was a current employee of the store opened fire, killing 6 people in an attack a couple days before Thanksgiving. The shooter, who I believe we've got a photo of here. Let me see if... there we go. Not sure where this photo comes from.
That was a video. That was a video taken by a coworker hours before the actual shooting.
All right.
So he was a shift manager. So he wasn't necessarily a store manager, but he was a shift manager at the store. I don't have his name in front of me, and we do have a policy where we do not name mass shooters.
True.
We do not want to give them any level of notoriety beyond showing a very unflattering angle. But this was a video taken by a coworker hours before the shooting.
All right. And in a follow-up to last week's mass shooting in Colorado, the suspect, which they released his mugshot, and they had said on the news that he got a little bit beat up when other club members were holding him down. This is his mugshot. He got the shit kicked out of him, which is a beautiful thing.
This picture makes me so happy. This picture makes me so happy because this is a person that walked into an LGBTQ plus bar and decided to go on a shooting rampage. There were no police officers in the venue. There were no armed security guards in the venue, where one would automatically expect a armed gunman to go on a rampage. This person killed 5 people, shot a handful more, but in what was truly a sign of courage that was not even displayed by the police officers in Uvalde, Texas, this man was immediately ambushed. Excuse me, I don't want to call him a man because of what we're going to talk about soon. This person here that you're looking at right now was ambushed by patrons of the bar who were there to have a good time, have a few drinks, and get to know some strangers. Jumped him, were able to wrestle the gun out of their hands, and literally stomped the fucking shit out of this kid's face. And while they waited for the police to show up, He killed 5 people, and clearly, one of the stories I heard was that there was I don't know what they did for a living. I remember reading it, forgot it, but they were wearing stiletto heels, and they literally were standing over him, just stomping on his head with their heels.
Yeah, well, and you can see, I mean, if you look at the face, you can see the imprint of the boots on his face and on the side of his head. I mean,
I wish, in all honesty, and I say this with zero regret, you can quote this to any future employer I may have. I wish that those heels had actually penetrated through the skin and had crushed this person's skull to the point where literally brain matter was leaking out and this person died a violent death.
And let's point out one of the heroes, ex-military guy that grabbed the gun and encouraged other people to bring the gunman down. That gentleman on the left is Richard Fierro, co-owner of Ultra Vita Beer Company in Colorado Springs, there with his wife. She's the primary owner and brewer. So many people have gone online to the Ultra Vita Beer Company to support them by buying merchandise, gift cards, things of that nature.
Sure.
They accept credit cards, which is a great thing for merchandise. You should always do that when selling merch. So we encourage that. We would say go to Ultra Vita Beer and buy some merch off them. There, Janelle doing something nice this week, buying a shirt from the brewery.
Good.
So.
That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
Now, one thing that came out and help me try and understand why this was so important. It was announced that the Colorado shooting suspect is non-binary. And when that happened, like everybody lost their shit on the right. And I'm trying to understand why that is.
I will tell you why. Because the narrative of the news and people on the left also lost their shit. Because the narrative, are you cleaning out your bowl right now? What's going on over there?
I'm good. You're good.
You sure?
Yep.
Because the narrative of a shooter showing up to a LGBTQ bar and shooting up the place immediately becomes, sorry, had to burp, a right-wing white male who hates gay people wanted to, after years of listening to Donald Trump, Fox News, and Lauren Boebert, wanted to go there and silence the gay voice because it was a threat to greater society. That's the narrative that the left wants to tell. The right wants to tell the narrative that this isn't a, guns kill people, but this is a mental health, tragedy that we're having in America, and we need to do absolutely nothing about gun control while also doing absolutely nothing about mental health. And that suddenly the fact that this person who went in there and went on a shooting spree was non-binary, it fed now this whole new narrative on the right that now people who are non-binary should also be viewed as, homicidal maniacs, because these are the same people who are dressing up as in drag and, threatening our children's future.
It's just, I mean, it's as stupid as I feared it was. I mean, I kind of get it, but it's, it kind of takes focus away from the main issue in that we need to figure out how to stop mass shootings, regardless of who's perpetrating them.
What I find just fascinating about American society right now is there really seems to have been this narrative that started with Pizzagate that at the time was really a fringe narrative that somehow, children are being sexually trafficked and we need to step in and save them. Then if you remember, was it Wayfair that was supposedly selling children for $18,000 with, the guise of buying furniture. But this narrative that has really taken hold in social media, and I've even seen people that I know embrace it, which is, taking a stand against pedophiles and taking a stand about, we need to protect the children and, children's sex traffickers are out there and we need to do something about it. But yet there's so little to be talked about people who show up to shoot up schools and protecting children, by enacting gun control just seems to, somehow slip the narrative. But talking big about how you need to stop the children from sexual abuse, seems to be so popular now. It really is almost, has started from the fringe and become so mainstream at this point. To sit there and just start posting about how, the pedophiles are out there and we need to, make pedophiles scared again. But yet on a regular basis, people show up to schools and, shoot kids. I saw a post earlier today, I think it was on Facebook, where it was just someone saying, don't ever send your kid to school, after a fight without making up. Don't ever send your kid to school without telling them that you love them. Don't ever yell at them as you are dropping them off at school, because, today could be the last day you ever see them. And it was a serious post.
Right.
It wasn't a
mocking. It wasn't anything like that. No, it's literally how you have to live your lives if you have a kid going to school these days.
And it was so upsetting to me that we accept school shootings. We accept this as American reality, but somehow we, as the general American public, are now feeling that we should pat ourselves on the back for protecting children against pedophiles.
Right.
And I guarantee you there's more kids that are out there that are being affected by gun violence, because even the people who are not directly affected by it, in the sense of kids who are shot at their school. But how many schools out there have normalized gun safety activities,
right?
Where, it is, hey, if there's an active shooter, we're going to practice at 3:00 today and what to do if there's someone shows up to school and starts shooting up the classrooms. Like the trauma that you are imposing upon these children of, when you go to school, this may be your last day. I never had to worry about that shit. I just would go to school. My biggest worry when I went to school was, a spelling test or a teacher saying, "Ooh, it's going to be a pop quiz today. Put your books away because I'm going to test you on how much you did not read in, the last 2 weeks in this book."
We had to practice nuclear bomb drills.
Sure,
that was because that was the thing. We were going to get the Russians were going to drop a bomb on us, and so apparently huddling down in your locker in kindergarten was going to stop the blast of a nuclear bomb.
What was the movie with Jason Robards that we all had to watch, our generation, about the nuclear bomb going off?
Was it the day after? I remember something like that.
Was it the day after? I would like to watch it again and see if it holds up.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. Well, again, it's these consistent, political talking points where they say the things that their supporters want to hear, but then they enact nothing about it. Like the big one now, also for the Republicans taking over the House is, they want to battle inflation, and apparently they're going to battle inflation via Hunter Biden's laptop. Sure.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm going to say this. Is it possible that Hunter Biden, who under the influence of cocaine, apparently he was on crack, went out there and made some shady deals to put some money in his pocket?
Without a doubt.
Yeah, it's very popular. Possible. But, how the right is going to sit there and go after him while looking the other way when Justin Kushner, what was his name? Jared Kushner got $1 billion from the Saudis as soon as he left the White House. How Ivanka and Jared now are multi-hundred millionaires compared to where they were before the administration.
I think it's safe to say that there's vast corruption on both sides of the aisle.
There always has been. And what I find absolutely stunning and a true sign of politics nowadays is how the left did absolutely nothing about what was going on in the Trump administration in terms of the Trump organization, real estate, what is it when you you give a family member perks because nepotism, that's the word. How all the nepotism that took place. Literally, Ivanka was, a senior advisor in a White House. She was totally wildly unqualified for any kind of political role. At the same time, Donald Trump was wildly unqualified for a political role. But let's not dwell on that. But it was just the fact of the left did absolutely nothing about what the Trump family, how they were profiting, but suddenly the right, this is their biggest issue that they want to bring attention to.
Well, let's not go off on politics too much. We've been told before we get too political. Let's get through some of these other news stories that we have here. We have a follow-up story from one that we covered back in 2020. We covered a story of a Louisiana Catholic priest who had apparently filmed a threesome with two dominatrixes on his church's altar. He has finally gone through the court system for that. This gentleman right here, Travis Clark, not looking creepy at all with that smile. No. And his priest, whatever that outfit is. So Travis got a 3-year suspended prison sentence, along with 3 years of supervised probation and a $1,000 fine.
Listen, I'm going to interrupt you right here.
All right.
You're telling me that face had a threesome.
I feel there may have been money involved.
I gotta believe it. Or it was the fact of the lure of having sex in a church is what brought those women to the table.
It's very possible. One of the women involved, Mindy Dixon, did apparently on the night of the incident brag on social media that she was going to, quote, defile a house of God.
Sure.
So this is the interesting thing, though. So the only reason that they were caught is that a witness peered through the window of the church and saw Clark having sex with the two women in corsets and high-heeled boots, and then police charged them because even though everything was consensual, they were in view of the public.
Sure.
But through a window, outside. If you literally have to go walk up to the window and look inside. I mean, again, not that I'm condoning having sex in a church with dominatrixes.
No, but you are. But I'm going to come up forward and say I absolutely condone walking down the street and looking through every window you possibly come across, because it's possible somebody in there is going to have sex. I mean, I've been told multiple times, stop looking inside my window by various, both men and women. I mean, I am not gender specific. But I am, what is the phrase for somebody that likes to watch?
Voyeur?
I am a voyeur. I love looking in, you walk down the street. I love, you're looking forward. In New York City, on the other hand, we're looking down to make sure we don't step in dog poop. But every now and then, if I feel I've got a, safe view for the next couple of steps, I'll quickly turn to my right or left to look inside some windows, see if I can see some people having sex. I mean, if I walk by a church and there's a viewable window, I'm checking. Hey, is there a priest in there with two whores wearing corsets and thigh-high stockings? Are they having sex with him?
Well, the altar that they had sex on has since been burned by the church and replaced with a new one. And Clark has paid restitution to the church in the amount of $8,000.
Wait a second. So he's still in the church?
No, he's been kicked out. He was fired, obviously. He's been defrocked. And the altar that he had the sex on, the church burned it in the aftermath of his, quote, demonic conduct.
What position do you think he was having sex with the women in?
I mean, all of them, probably. I mean, it sounds like they had a video camera set up. There was sex toys. There was stage lighting. Like, this was a professional video that they were putting together.
So what you're saying is it's somewhere on OnlyFans.
There's got to be video of this out there. You would think.
Sex with these two women.
You got to think there's video out there somewhere. So
I feel
Matt
like
needs to find this. Matt needs to hunt this down.
I was going to say, I feel so let down that how many years after I still have not seen this videotape.
Yeah. Jumping over to San Francisco, a police proposal in San Francisco could give cops in the city the ability to kill suspects using remote control robots. A draft policy that details the controversial proposal states lethal force by robots would be allowed if there was a deadly threat to cops or the public. Good or bad idea, Brian?
This makes me very uncomfortable.
I guess the question is if you have robots that can handle the situation, would you necessarily need to kill anybody? Because that would prevent you from having to put like an officer or the public in harm's way.
Yeah, but how many times have we seen Teslas get into accidents? How many times have we seen these these machines not behave in the way that we think they're going to.
Right. Now, this is interesting. I forgot about this, but back in 2016, I don't know if you remember the guy that killed 5 police officers and holed himself up in a parking garage. They actually used a robot back then to kill that suspect.
Was this Dallas or Texas somewhere?
That was Dallas, yes.
I do remember this guy.
Yeah.
He went on a spree aiming for police officers. How did they kill him? Or you may not have the article in front of you. I found that fascinating.
I don't know how they killed him with the robot. I don't know if the robot was armed, if the robot had an explosive on him, or what it was. But clearly, this is technology that already exists.
I feel like we are just getting closer to RoboCop.
We're
going to send machines to do, and the problem with the machines is that they don't have the ability to see gray. A police officer goes into a store where there's somebody with a knife or a gun, and the police officer has the ability to de-escalate the situation or to escalate. Whereas a robot goes in there and only understands zeros and ones. Shoot and kill or turn around and go
I don't
home.
think the robot would not be automated. So I guess the robot would be guided by a human being.
Sure, Ron, you believe that. Okay, Ron. All righty.
Okay. I mean, you just have to hope that's the case.
No, there's no way that's where they're going. This is just an intermediary step.
Well, Brian, enough sad stories.
Whoa,
would you like a
Can we get a video of you coughing just now? I feel like
go back and we'll get Matt on that. But Brian, we have a love story, Brian, and I know you were romantic at heart. You of
I am
all
a romantic.
people.
You know me.
So a former Alabama high school teacher and coach who resigned after being arrested for having sex with a student is now married to his alleged victim, Brian. I mean, again, the tale is old as time. Love story. Tucker was a teacher. This is Thomas Black Tucker. He asked the court to lift a restriction barring him from seeing the student this week. The filing included the wedding certificate stating the pair were married on November 6th. Tucker was a teacher at East Limestone High School in northern Alabama. He was arrested back on September 17th and charged with being a school employee who engaged in a sex act with a student younger than 19. He has since resigned. Do you feel that he's in love, or is this just a smart legal strategy as he prepares for his court case?
Listen, I think that it's, however you look at it, this is a very strong move on his part from a legal perspective. And at the same time, we have to ask the individual that was the student under 19, what's going on in their head. I mean, they really are the ones that need to speak up on this.
I mean, you feel there's still, even if the kid's not still in school, which is not, it is unclear whether the individual in question is still a student or if this happened a few years back. But you have to feel there's probably a bit of an age difference there.
Well, honestly, not that much. He doesn't look older than 25.
He is 25, exactly, on the nose, my friend.
There you go. So what are we talking? A couple years. There's listen. I know you are not one to really go into too many details about your personal life, but I mean, the age difference between you and your wife is pretty dramatic. I mean, when people start talking, I mean,
it's 2.5 years. I don't know if that's necessarily dramatic.
Listen, 2.5 years, you keep lying to the public. I mean, the last time I was down there, we did speak. Your wife is 14 years younger than you. We spoke about this. She said that, she was working the front desk of a hotel that your company managed. And, there absolutely was some type of power dynamic going between the two of you. If I remember correctly, you were about to be.
Sorry.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
That's hurtful. Very hurtful when you use those words against me.
I should be able to go on a tangent.
Every now and then.
How is Mrs. Ron doing?
She's doing good. I just had a thought. If I retain my 51% ownership come
Which you
February.
will not. You will not. You will
I
not.
feel confident that I will. I feel that I will limit your number of tangents per episode.
You
I
can't.
feel
You can't do
that might be
no,
something that I'll do
no.
moving forward.
No, you can't. You cannot limit my tangents because
All
that's
right.
part of the fun of the show.
Brian, here's a sad story that I know you
People
wanted
love
to
my
cover.
tangents.
A Canadian paramedic treating a car crash victim who was so badly injured she was left unrecognizable. Later learned that her patient who died from her injuries was her 17-year-old daughter. EMT Jamie Erickson of Alberta spent over 20 minutes treating the girl who had been trapped in a car following a wreck back on November 15th. An air ambulance arrived, flying the wounded teen to Calgary. But minutes after Erickson arrived home from the scene, she was informed, I should say, by Royal Canadian Mounted Police officers who revealed the heart-wrenching news that she had been treating her daughter.
Am I the only one that finds this story hard to believe?
Well, why do you find it hard to believe?
Okay. So you're telling me that there is a nurse driving around holding the steering wheel at the 10s and 2s.
She's a paramedic,
And
not a nurse.
Paramedic. You know what? Just because she's a paramedic, Ron, I would not, there's no need to look down on her.
Well, no, I'm
There's
saying
need
that she wasn't just driving around. She responded to a call because she's a paramedic.
Okay, that makes sense.
All right.
The judge will allow that. So you're telling me she shows up to the scene of a car accident, and I am to believe the following assumptions.
Okay.
A, the car that was involved in this accident is not a car that she is familiar with.
Correct. It was a
She's not
friend's
gonna
car, actually.
And she doesn't know her daughter's friend's car. She's not going to drive up and be like, oh, Stacy also has a Nissan Sentra. Or she's not going to drive up there and be like, oh, my daughter's friend has a Hyundai Elantra or whatnot. First off, that's the first assumption. We're going to get past that.
All right.
Then paramedic gets to the body. And what level of destruction facially has to happen for a mother to not recognize her own daughter?
So I will try and address both of those. As we mentioned, it was a friend driving the car. Apparently, the car was significantly damaged. And also, her daughter was very badly burned over most of her entire body.
Oh, I didn't read that she had been burned.
Yeah. Why did you read any part of it? Just saying.
I read the first couple paragraphs. I
read the headline.
I didn't read the part. So what happens is, so she sits there and she doesn't recognize the clothing, or the clothing's burned off too. Is that to be assumed? Like, she's not sitting there being like, oh, my daughter also has that same ugly Christmas sweater.
I mean, I guess, is it so unusual to think that maybe she was so focused on saving the young woman's life that she didn't pick up on some of these other things?
It just feels like a series of assumptions here that this woman does not recognize her own daughter. I find that one very hard. I find this one hard to just blindly accept and move on.
All right. I mean, again, you are a skeptic at heart, and
I am.
I respect that about you.
Sure. I mean, when someone says to me, "Hey, I have AIDS," I'm like, "No, you don't." I don't believe it.
Brian, we have some we have celebrity obituaries. We've got a few that we wanted to cover. Did we want to cover Wilco Johnson at all?
I don't know who Wilco Johnson is. D-. Wilco Johnson, D-. Remember we used to grade
that's right,
celebrity deaths?
Yep.
Okay, so Wilco Johnson was a famous guitar player in a band called, let me pull up a British band called Dr. Feelgood. In 1976, their album Stupidity went to #1 in the UK. We know the British have no sense of what good music is. And but then Johnson left the band a year later. He then joined Ian Drury and the Blockheads before releasing his own music, which included an album with Roger Daltrey in 2014. More importantly, and I'm going to say I saw both photos of this person that they put up there. Don't recognize him. More importantly, was that he was in Game of Thrones.
Oh, I did not realize that. What
Uh,
character
he
did he
played
play?
he played the mute executioner Per Ilyn Payne in seasons 1 and 2 of the HBO series. I didn't recognize him. I didn't remember seeing any photos of him. When they showed the photos, I had no idea who the heck we were talking about.
Well, I know you knew this individual because you were a huge fan of the movie and TV show Fame. Irene Cara passing away at the age of 63, dying in her Florida home. I don't believe that they released a cause of death.
COVID.
But COVID, you think, huh?
She said she was in Florida, right?
She was, true.
COVID. Fame.
So she was.
Live forever.
She was initially cast in the 1980 musical, and then also earned 2 Grammy nominations for Best New Artist and Best Pop Vocal Performance.
And let's not forget the scene where she went topless.
True. Très Jolie, Coco. Très Jolie.
What does Très Jolie mean?
You don't remember the scene, Brian? The photographer is making her. Oh, that's it.
Listen,
Très Jolie,
okay,
Coco.
Ron.
Très Jolie.
Listen, Ron, I've had plenty of JOM presented to me in life, but that doesn't mean it has burned, it has seared the memory into my cerebellum. I do not remember what the photographer said to her.
All
I
right.
do remember him calling her a little bitch because she didn't want to take her top off, and she heard crying while looking away from the camera as she took. But I don't remember the specific dialogue. Unless you're going to tell me that you watched Fame earlier today.
I did not. You know what it was, Brian? They always played that audio on the Howard Stern show.
And what does that mean?
I don't know. They just would play the audio of that scene from when she was being photographed, and then he tells her to take her top off, and he's like,
Sure.
"Oh, that's great. It's Très Jolie." Très Jolie just means very beautiful.
Très Jolie.
Très Jolie, Coco. Très Jolie. She later sang and co-wrote Flashdance, What a Feeling, for the soundtrack
Very
of the
pretty.
1983 blockbuster Flashdance, winning her 2 Grammys in 1984.
By the way, I did, I know you were saying it jokingly, but I did watch the TV show Fame.
I know you did.
I remember there were a couple characters from the movie, like Leroy. I remember he made the jump from TV show, but he was a teacher, if I remember correctly, in the TV show from the movie. I also remember the old white lady who looked like a human raisin with gray hair. She was in the movie as like the administrator of the school. I remember she was also on the TV show. But yes, I did watch the TV show with my family.
All
Make
right.
fun of me all you want, people.
Also passing away, beloved comedian Freddie Roman, best known for his roasts at the Friars Club and later Comedy Central, passing away at the age of 85 after suffering a heart attack in Boynton Beach, Florida.
Sure. Listen, I think you're looking at the last of the greats of the Borscht Belt comedians. There's a generation from the 70s and 80s, your Seinfelds, your Pryors, who really kind of redefined comedy. But there is a generation that preceded them. Freddie Roman was one of the last of the remaining comedians from that age who really was there during, a much more innocent time of stand-up comedy when, you really could say anything to
Right.
somebody about any, physical trait about them. And the concept was, I'm trying to make a joke. If it's funny, laugh. But it is absolutely not coming from a place of anger or hate. And that's really changed, in modern times.
He was born Fred Kirschenbaum and started his career off when he was just 15 years old. He was given the opportunity to MC at his uncle and grandfather's Crystal Spring Hotel in the Catskills.
There you go.
All right. Brian, we're
He'll be
running
missed.
up towards the end. Anything else you want to cover before we wrap up here tonight?
Do you mind telling our the people who are watching right now why they should sign up for our Patreon at this very moment?
Listen, we give you fantastic free content each and every week, but we do ask that you show us some love over on Patreon. Easiest way to get there is go to ronandbrianpodcast.com, click in the upper right-hand corner, because every final Sunday of the month, which this is one, we invite all of our Patreon subscribers at the $10 level or higher onto After Dark to join us. So we will have our regulars there with us, and we would like you to join us too. Again, $10 per month gets you access to the live After Dark, which starts in about 24 and a half minutes. If you join right now, we can get you the link before we go live at 9:30. There's other levels that you can subscribe at. There's some great swag out there. Maybe we'll throw in lapel pin. Maybe we'll throw in one of these fancy new Brian mugs. I mean, come on. I think this is going to be a hot item. It's going to be a stocking stuffer that everyone's going to want in their house. But again, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com. It's the best place to go for all things Ron and Brian.
There you go. And what is the incentive for people to sign up for our Patreon right now at the bronze or higher level?
I think for the reasons I just said, or is there something else I missed?
Listen, it is the fact that you are going to spend the next probably 30 to 60 minutes, a pajama party. You're going to, once a month in the last Sunday of the month, you are going to spend time on the show. We invite all of our patrons who are at the bronze or higher level to join us. We've played for several times. Can you beat Ron? But I'm going to tell you something. Ron and I, we spoke about it earlier this week. We're really enjoying doing the show where we just kind of talk as a roundtable. I think this month is no different. It should be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us, as always, for indulging us as we tell stories and read the news and just really share the love that can only be found between two men. Anything else before we wrap things up here tonight, Brian?
Absolutely not, Ron. I love you, and I love everybody watching and listening right now. I appreciate the fact that of everything that you had available. This is what this is how you decided you wanted to spend your last hour. And if you're listening live, please join us over on Patreon. Please join us. As little as $5 a month gets you the audio content of our After Dark, a free 30 minutes of stories that we do not want, out on YouTube or Facebook because they would violate their family standards. And once a month, come on the show, join us. It's a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I love you too, my friend. Love everyone that joins us here. We will catch everybody next week. We will catch our Patreon subscribers in about 12 minutes. 22 minutes.
22.
Again, go to ronandbrianpodcast.com if you want to join us. If not, have a great week. Be good to each other, and we will see you next Sunday.
Thank you for joining us on the Ron and Brian Podcast. We're live each week on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. You can find prior episodes, links to our social media, and everything else Ron and Brian at ronandbrianpodcast.com. See you again